Okay, as you know, I have lived in 9 different countries and I've visited 60. So I want to make this video on every way that I know, everything, every tips that I can give you as an expat to move to another country or live in another country safely for you, your family, and your kids. Because the last thing I want, and I've seen that a lot, okay, I've seen couple break up, divorce, because they live in another country, and now it's a lot of issues on the family, and it's a lot of issues on one of the spouse, and that may impact the family. Or the wife or the husband's gonna go back to their country and they'll still be married, but they'll live apart because they cannot live together in the same country because the country doesn't agree with one or two or the entire family. So I want to talk to you about that. I don't know how many I'm gonna do, but let's try to go with everything I know one by one. So first of all, adaptation. So for example, I arrive in Beirut and I love making sushi. So I was trying to find, and I check on the expat forum. Expat groups are very good, okay, generally, but even expats are not locals and they don't know everything. So I was trying to find this supplier for sushi, to buy, seaweeds and, stuff like that and fish. And it took me a year to find it. We left 6 months later. So basically that's very sad. I wish I had found that at the beginning, but again, as an expat, you don't know everything and it's difficult. 2, navigation. That's another one. I mean, back in those days, we bought a GPS, we arrive in a country and, the GPS doesn't work. So we had to either buy a map for the GPS or literally, toss it and buy another GPS. Today, it's still not perfect. Like for example, I'm in a country right now where with my BMW, I have no maps. Okay, so I have to use my Apple CarPlay in my car and use Google Maps because my BMW's map is not made for the country. Not enough BMW sold in that country, and yeah, they don't make a map for it. So this is the issue. Okay, you can move to Harlem and have issues in New York. You can move to Kingston, Jamaica, and well, maybe that's the last move you'll ever do. I mean, Kingston is the second most dangerous city in the world to live in, okay? You're better off in Mosul, Iraq, okay? You're better off in Afghanistan. I'm not joking here, trust me, I've been in both places. The idea is that some cities are tremendously dangerous. So Kingston being the second most dangerous in the world, there's areas you cannot go to, and respect this, okay? If somebody tells you, if your embassy, the company you work with, agency you work for, tells you, look, give this area a wide berth, okay? There's an emergency there, like security emergency, there's a lot of shooting, stuff like that. Rape, lock your doors at night, have a security guard, hire a security guard, do it. Live in a gated community, we'll come back to that. Do it because in a lot of countries, trust me, your security and your life is at stake. And Jamaica is a prime example of that. 4, schools. In a lot of countries, you will have international schools. They will be expensive, okay? In Jamaica, like $25,000 a year. In the US, even the local schools are relatively decent, okay? But if you want to go in a developing nation, you may face the fact that you have to send your kid to a private school. If you cannot afford it, the problem is the public school might be terrible. It could be in a country where religion is a huge issue, so indoctrination is a problem. And it's kind of funny because I heard both sides, okay? I heard when I was in a very highly religious country, like a Christian country, where people say, yeah, but who cares if your kids is forced to do devotion and, prayers every day in school, what does it matter? And, I say, yeah, but what if they had to, that your kids had to go to a Muslim country and they would have to be indoctrinated in Islam and then do 5 prayers every day, and they would automatically tell me, no, I would never allow that. So why would I allow my kid to be indoctrinated in your religion? So religion is an issue, and sometimes you may not be able to get away with it. Well, before we continue, please subscribe to the channel, give me the thumbs up if this is the type of tips that you think are useful as an expat. And we're gonna have a lot of other videos teaching you how to move around and travel. Well, give me the thumbs up, let's continue. 5, kids, okay, in a lot of countries are not told the same thing if they're boys or girls. My daughter comes back home crying, saying, oh, I'm not allowed to play dodgeball, I'm not allowed to play capture the flag, or I wanted to be signed up for the horseback riding class, they don't allow me to do it. call the school, hey, it's an international school, what's going on? Yes, but even if it's an international school, the local authorities will not allow me to sign your daughter to do the horseback riding class, for example, because she's a kid, okay, she's a girl. But in other countries, no issues whatsoever. So this is the thing that might be a problem as well. 7. Cell phone fees might be tremendously expensive, okay? This is something, like in certain countries, so to call a country, like try to call certain countries in the Middle East, or try to call Asia, for example, China might be free or 1 cent a minute, or Canada, US is very cheap, but if you try to call Vietnam, 30 cents a minute. You have to be careful, so maybe you'll have to go with WhatsApp or go online all the time. Food in the country you're going to might be very difficult to get, okay? So the things you're used to, alcohol may not be possible at all. There's a lot of dry country, even where making your own alcohol might be a problem. There are people coming into the Middle East with grains and malt and stuff to do their own beer, and they get seized at the airport because you cannot do that. There's some foods that are not allowed. So if you're used to certain food, moving to another country, you may not be able to get that. Maids and nannies, okay, this is another one. So move to the Philippines, move to Thailand, you're gonna have amazing maids for very good price, you're gonna live like a king with somebody taking care of you, taking care of your kid, this is good. But other countries, you can't do that, okay, because it might be too expensive. So if you used to have a maid and a nanny in the Middle East and then you move to the US, well, that's gonna cost you way more because the laws are different. Even if the person is live-in, there is still a minimum wage to be applied and stuff like that, even if you pay for the food. So that might become very expensive to hire somebody from abroad, or you may not be able to bring, for example, a Filipina. Also, doesn't mean because you're in a country that the local salary is very low that you're gonna be able to get a local maid. In Vietnam, for example, for you to try to find yourself a local maid that speaks English is very difficult. In Jamaica, to find a local maid that's gonna not steal your stuff or whatever, or treat your kid decently or teach your kid the right stuff is also extremely difficult. That's why most local Jamaicans will bring Filipino maids in. And you may disagree with me there, but at one point I was actually literally not even bothering remembering the name of maids. Me and my wife were like, so is 16 still working today? No, she didn't show up. All right, I'll place an ad for 17. We were at that point where we knew we're not gonna stay in the country long enough to justify bringing a Filipina in, but the local maids were unreliable and we had a lot of theft, okay? We lost a lot of stuff because of the maid. Doesn't matter if you treat them well, doesn't matter if you give them more money, you pay them more than anybody else, okay? They still have issues. And like I said, when the locals are not doing something, so when the local Jamaicans don't hire Jamaicans to work for them, you understand that you shouldn't do it yourself because you don't know more than they do. Taxes. Now, this could be very, very bad, okay? So for example, okay, this microphone, okay, costs $700 in the US. This is a wireless Sennheiser microphone. Well, in the country I'm in right now, this thing is about $2,000. It's insane. It's the taxes plus. And if you try to bring it at the airport and you're not a diplomat and they see it in your luggage, then it might be seized if you don't declare it. So trust me, in something like in Vietnam, for example, 100% taxes. Like for example, in Vietnam, a $20,000 Toyota might end up costing you $40,000 because there's 100% import. And if it's a BMW or Mercedes or a higher level car, you may have 150 to 200% taxes on that. So you have to be very careful as an expat when you want to move in the country and buy some stuff, okay? There's some supplies you can't get. Now, doing your business. So I'm doing YouTube videos. That's amazing. I can do it from anywhere on earth, or can I? Now, let me talk to you about the issues here. I'm going to do it as a YouTuber, but it applies for you in other jobs as well, okay? If you do anything online, that might be a problem. When I was in Lebanon, the internet was so slow, we had a lot of trouble. It was also very unstable, so I had to have 2 internet service providers in order to be able to have a more or less consistent internet. Again, okay, if this breaks, I'm in trouble. I cannot replace it easily. So how am I gonna do YouTube videos? This is a problem. There could be a lot of issues with noise. When I was in Jamaica, noise at any time of the day or night, okay, that was causing me issues with making videos. And I was living at the top of the mountain in a house that was like almost by itself, okay? Here, the picture of it at night, there's nobody around. Still tremendous amount of noise from the city or the stadium. So this sometimes could be a problem. It could be completely illegal, okay? So I fly drones. In the country I am right now, I cannot fly my drone. Filming also could be a problem. I'll talk to you about in the next slide. So the last one I want to talk to you about, let's say one of my favorite YouTuber, the lockpicking lawyer. Every single 2 or 3 days, the guy has a new lock that he explained how to open, and you know, like what to tell you whether or not you should buy it or not. So you learn how to open the lock, but you also learn whether or not it's a good lock. Well, in the United States, for example, it's very easy for him to get his supplies, okay? He can go on eBay, he can go on Amazon, and he can get those locks very easily. So you can, you know, there's a lot of variety. In the country I'm in right now, I doubt I will be able to do these YouTube videos for 2 months, okay? Because they're probably only 20 locks. There's no way to import them, or it costs too much to import, no chance. So this is another problem, okay? So that's pretty much what it is when you try to do business abroad, okay? As an expat, if you think you're gonna move to another country and just like live like this and continue your business, might be very tough. Your spouse may not be able to work, okay? This is a problem. So for example, you may be allowed to move with your family to the country. They will allow you to move in, but your spouse can't work. So my neighbors, they're German, and she used to be in Germany like a lawyer, and he's here because he's in oil or something like that. So he's making good money. She wants to work, but she cannot. First of all, because she doesn't speak the local language, and on top of that, for her to be able to work here would have to pass the bar, and in education and stuff like that might take her forever. Also because in the country you may not have a good salary, okay? So if you're a lawyer and you move to Philippines, I mean, you may make $1,000 a month or $700 a month as a lawyer in the Philippines. I mean, is it worth for you to start working considering that you're gonna make so little amount of money? Not really. So one spouse may not be able to work. So you're gonna have to find something for your spouse or you or yourself to do. Otherwise you have your complete boredom, right? So that's an issue. Dating. Okay, so that also is a problem. I have a friend of mine who works for the UN, who's basically living in one country in the Middle East. Again, I would rather not name it. And she's been single now for 2 years, and she cannot date. Okay, she really can't. I mean, she tried, okay, but she's American, she'd rather have an American, okay, at least somebody that's not Muslim, somebody that, you know, share more values and the things she wants in life, and she can't find anyone, okay? So she cannot readily date, okay? That's not an easy thing to do. So when you have no one that are sharing your values or sharing maybe your culture, or somebody that's gonna be accepted by your parents, your culture, you may not be able to date easily. The other way around might be very easy, okay? So for example, me in China, no issue, okay? There's a lot of Chinese girls that would date a white guy, but maybe a white girl may not be interested like a Canadian. I have some of my Canadian friends that wouldn't date an Asian man because of the mentality, the thinking, or their preference of, you know, look into guys and stuff like that. So that's something that you may have to consider. So if you end up single in another country, doesn't mean you'll find somebody easily if dating is something you want to do. Housing. If it's a dangerous place, okay, you want to make sure that you live in a gated community. You want to make sure you live in a building that has at least security guard at the bottom and a way for, you know, to know who comes in and out, and, you know, that you have to have permission to come up. If not, you can live like we used to in Jamaica. We had a guardhouse on the property and a rotation. So we'd hire a company that was charging us like, I don't know, $30 a day. I think it's not expensive in those countries. And they had a rotation of 2 security guards per day. So 2 12-hour shifts, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, that we're on a premises or not, we had our own security guard. This is an armed guard with a 12-gauge shotgun roaming the property all the time, okay? That was necessary, absolutely necessary in Jamaica. So this is a possibility. Now, again on property, Cost, okay. You may be able to rent, okay, a mansion the size of which most celebrities in, you know, I don't know, Hollywood, for example, would be envious of, and we have one of those now, okay? Indoor elevator, you know, an amazing property, okay? Super huge, 8,000 square feet or 750 square meters, insane property, okay? That's fine, very cheap too. But you may go to other countries where the prices are super expensive, okay? You may be on a 1 acre property at the top of a hill like we were in Jamaica for $5,000 a month. This is more than I'm renting my house in New York. I'm renting it to tenants right now, which unfortunately don't pay, but anyway, it's okay, it's COVID-19. But the idea is that, yeah, I mean, seriously, certain countries is super cheap, certain countries are super expensive. It depends, okay? So you have to make sure of that before you move somewhere. Public and private transportation. Women in certain countries, okay, you go on Uber or you go whatever, they get surprisingly low rating, even if they're nice and polite and everything, okay? My wife's rating using an Uber is actually very low. I have 5 stars, she has 3.5 stars. It's not because she acts wrong, okay? It's just because the drivers, they look at a woman alone, maybe they're gonna cruise the woman doesn't respond or something like that, and they're gonna give her a 1 star. This is very crazy, but it happens. Also, transportation, groping, potential rape. Okay, this is something that as women, you have to be very careful. In Egypt now, they even segregate women and men transportation because they had so much issues. In India, it's the same thing. They have so much issues with rape, groping, sexual assault, okay, touching and stuff like that, that they have to separate. You have to be careful if you're alone as a woman working abroad. Okay, this is the type of thing you need to consider. Trust me, you're better off driving yourself. It's what I would do if I were a woman. Try to mitigate that kind of thing. Leaving the country where you are, okay? So this could be another issue. Here I could talk about maids and nannies, okay? When you move to a country, like especially in the Middle East, okay, for security reason, okay, they're gonna take your passport away. Now, as a Canadian, if you take my passport away, I'll walk to the Canadian embassy. There is one in almost every single country. I lost my passport, give me another one, they give me a passport, I leave the country. But in the Filipina, for example, may not be able to do that. Or they may know, the government may know that you're here to work and not allow you to leave until your contract is over. Okay, I have a friend of mine, actually, he's part of a Christian Orthodox organization that help maids and nannies in Lebanon, because right now, because of COVID-19, they were literally thrown in the street. Okay, that's one thing. People don't have the money, also with the explosion they had. But before that was abuse. Okay, a lot of maids get abused by their employers. Okay, either sexually, either verbally or physically. So they end up leaving and they don't have a passport or anything, and the government will not give them, you know, like any recourse, like especially the Philippine government will not really easily give them back passports. So yeah, he's part of that organization to try to house them and help them out and send them back home. But that's the kind of thing you may expose yourself to. Flying from the country you're in, okay? Jamaica is extremely close to Cancun. It's an 1.5-hour flight. If you had a direct flight, there is no such thing as a direct flight. Jamaica lost their airline years back. So you have to fly to Miami or all the way north to New York to go all the way back down south, okay? The flights are tremendously expensive, so you have to check that out. How much it's gonna cost you? When we're in the Philippines, okay, we used to travel all over Asia for super cheap, okay? There's tons of airlines that fly to Manila. It was super easy to do it. When we live in China, same thing. In Hong Kong, crazy, okay? Tons of flying from Hong Kong. Direct flight from Hong Kong to anywhere on the planet, no issues. But it's not the case in every country, okay? So for me as a Canadian, flying from Montreal to Cancun cost me $300, take 4 hours. From Jamaica used to be $800 and take about 8 to 9 hours, even though you're south and very close. So these are the type of thing you have to check. Driver license exchange, okay? Now, like for example, okay, my driver license, okay, as a Canadian driver license, I can go to US and exchange it right away for a US driver license. I can go to Europe, anywhere in the EU to exchange it. An American cannot do that. Yes, Canada, yes. Switzerland, no way. And other countries can't do that because they don't have reciprocity. Okay, because they don't have good relationship with other countries, their US driver license not necessarily accepted in other countries. For renting a car, no issues, but to actually exchange it, you can. And if you end up in a country, like for example, now I'm in a developing nation, if I go back to Canada with my developing nation country driver license, I would have to pass a driver license test, at least maybe not the driver, like the driving, physical driving, but the security safety test, yes. So this is the type of thing that you have to be careful when you move to another country. You may have to pass your driver license again. You have to understand the laws, okay? For importing things, for buying things, okay, there's a lot of stuff that in your country might be completely legal, okay, then other country it's not. So take the US for example. Almost every single thing you do in the United States in your home is legal, okay? I can buy casino chip and make myself a beautiful casino inside my house, invite my friends to play. It's not illegal at all, so long as I don't charge, so long as I don't do it publicly. But if I bring these casino chip to a country like Vietnam or China, they'll be seized at the airport instantly because even at home, you're not allowed to do it. Okay, so you cannot import these things. So this is something that you have to be aware of. Could be alcohol, could be certain things that you don't even think there are. Books, okay? In North Korea, in Vietnam, if you come in with your books, you may be seized, okay? You may have your book seized. If you come to Vietnam to live and you bring your library with you, you have to pay an amount to have every single book checked, researched to see if they don't have any subversive material in it, or if they don't promote something that these people don't like you to have in the country to show to other countrymen. That will bring me to VPNs, okay? I use virtual private network all the time because otherwise I wouldn't be able to access Facebook, I wouldn't be able to access Amazon, for example. If you're on Amazon, and I have a complete video on how to use VPN as an expat, you should check it out because honestly, when you travel, what is normally accessible in Canada, and I'm not going to say the US because now they want to remove access to TikTok and other things. They want to start net neutrality in the US is dead. But in Canada, for example, where it's still alive, you can access any website anywhere you want. But you move to China, you cannot access Facebook, you cannot access certain YouTube videos, and that's an issue. A lot of YouTube videos or a lot of Amazon or for example, Shopify or Spotify for music, you cannot access them in a lot of countries, okay? So you're gonna go and they're gonna say you can't access it from your country. There's another thing you have to think about. So if you use these websites a lot for your business or personally, you might no longer be able to access them as an expat. So this is pretty much the main stuff. There's a lot of other things to cover, and I have a lot of videos that are talking about them individually, but these are the things that I was thinking that happened to me in the past few years that are issues. So stay safe, guys, and when you travel or you want to live as an expat in another country, please understand that they're not necessarily your values or necessarily the things you're used to. And yes, in the United States, you can order everything on Amazon. It's super easy. But when you move elsewhere, well, that's not the case anymore. And this is something that you're painfully aware when you're an American or a Canadian traveling abroad. If you like this video, please subscribe to the channel and give me the thumbs up. I'm going to make a video like this almost every single day, teaching people how to move around the world, travel, how to prosper anywhere. If you have any experiences, if you travel anywhere, please tell me where you travel. Put it in the comment below. If you have any questions, I do answer my comments. And also, if the question is broad enough and I think enough people need to hear the answer, I'm going to definitely make a video about it. Also, if you want to learn how to make money, how to prosper, I retired at 33 years old, multi-millionaire. How I did that internationally, online and offline. And I have a sister channel that's teaching exactly how to do that. So if you want to travel and make money anywhere, this is the channel for you.